I believe that there are certain unspoken behavioral codes and behavioral habits that we have that are detrimental to us as we get older. I was always told when I was little, make sure your business is not out in the street. Whatever happens behind closed doors stays behind closed doors. Well, I partially disagree with that. If there's something going on behind closed doors that can ruin somebody behind closed doors, it's going to wind up out in the street. Because what goes on behind closed doors actually has an effect on a person's attitude before they go out into the world. So it's not necessarily just your business. But in relationships, long time ago, back in time of our grandmothers and great-grandmothers' time, when a man and a woman were dating, they had no problems discussing finances. They had no problems trying to set up plans. They had no problems talking about who handles what in the house. They didn't have any problems talking about that. And I think that's part of the reason why they didn't waste any time getting married like people do nowadays. For some strange reason, and I was guilty of it in the past, I would start dating someone, and then once he declared that he did love me and wanted to be with me, of course, naturally, you would think eventually it would lead to a permanent relationship. But I would never even broach the subject about finances and how the house is going to be run and who's going to handle what. Or how do we handle ourselves when we're out in public? How do we handle our business affairs? Do we talk about, how many kids we want to have? When do we want to have them? That type of thing. I didn't do that when I was younger. Because I guess there were part of us that were afraid, like most women. They don't want to bring that up, and they probably think that man is going to leave. Well, first of all, if he spent all that time with you and claims that he loves you, he must have some sense that he's going to hold on to you. Of course, there are a lot of people that are broken that aren't doing that. But I mean, under normal circumstances, if he has shown that he has a vested interest in you and has already expressed that he wants to keep you permanently, then of course you need to discuss these things. And then what happens is, let's say you jump the broom eventually. Then all of a sudden it's a problem 2-3 years down the road. Nothing has really changed from the time that you first got married. And the frustration sets in. You haven't moved one step. Financially, you haven't grown your family. You haven't done anything since you got married. There's a level of frustrations associated with that. And there's just some discussions that you need to have before you get married. You need to have a sit down and decide, what kind of lifestyle do you want to have? There are some people that actually believe in their mind, and I know for a fact this is a fallacy because I've done this in the past. They figure if they live with someone long enough, they got everything figured out. That's not necessarily true in a lot of cases. It really isn't. See, your status is going to change at each level of relationship, regardless of how long you've been together. I know people that are my age that have been with somebody for 17, 18, 19 years and never got married. But the minute they did get married, all of a sudden there were problems. Wonder why? See, when you were just living together and you weren't married, you both had the option of leaving anytime you wanted to. You didn't have that restriction. You were still technically single. Yeah, you were living together and you might have gone through a little hard time here and there. But the people out in the street know you're not married. And you know in the back of your mind you can leave anytime you want. Now, I know this is stepping on some toes and I'm truly sorry, but maybe this needs to be a subject that needs to be talked about. I'm not against you living together. If that's what you totally agree on, okay, that's fine. You go ahead and you do that. As long as you're both on the same page if you choose to stay together. But you got to understand the reality of the entire situation. They have some states where they consider you common law. Bottom line is in the courtroom, if you got a common law wife on one side and then you got a legal wife on the other side, who do you think is going to have the upper hand? I'm just saying.